Hi, this is Ajay Anand and welcome to Social Science classes from excelup.com. In this lesson, you will be learning about working of institutions. In this case, institutions are all about the government institutions which are required to for day-to-day functioning of the government. First of all, you will learn about the need for institutions. That is, what is the need for making institutions. Then you will learn about the main organs of the government in India, which are legislature, executive and judiciary. And especially with reference to executive, you will learn about the Prime Minister, the cabinet and bureaucracy. So let us start with what is the need for institutions. The government has huge responsibility. It has to take care of the people, it has to provide security to people, then it has to work for welfare of people. And for doing that, the government needs a huge team because it's a gigantic task, and moreover government also needs huge amount of money to pay salaries to the huge machinery of government staff and to pay for various welfare programs. To ensure smooth functioning of each and every task of the government, there is a need of many institutions. Moreover, institutions ensure the division of labor so that the work responsibility it can be divided among many people, many teams, and the work can be conducted smoothly. Institutions also facilitate decentralization of power and ensures that power is not concentrated in one organ of the government or one in the hand of one person only, because that will ultimately lead to autocracy. Let us see now what are the main organs of the government. The main organs of government are legislature, executive and judiciary. The legislature includes the parliament, executive includes the PM and his cabinet and civil servants. The judiciary works to resolve dispute between public interest and government. What are the advantages of institutions? The advantages of institutions are that various work of government can be done smoothly because of the presence of institutions. Moreover, whenever major decisions are taken, many people are consulted, and since so many brains are involved, it helps in improving the quality of decision. So this is the advantage. Now disadvantage of institution are that since you need to consult so many people, you need to arrive at consensus before making a decision, it takes a longer time to make a decision, and many people often complain about the delay in decision making. So that is the disadvantage of institutions. Now let us move on to the first organ of the government, that is legislature. Since the process of law making is called legislation and that is being done in parliament, hence parliament is called legislature. In India, there are two houses in the parliament. One is called the Rajya Sabha or House of States, and another is called the Lok Sabha or House of People. Rajya Sabha is also called the upper house and Lok Sabha is called the lower house. So these names, upper and lower houses, they are just in conformance to tradition, and in spite of being called the lower house, Lok Sabha has more powers than Rajya Sabha. In case of states, we have Vidhan Parishad, that is the upper house, and Vidhan Sabha, that is the lower house. The members of Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha, they are directly elected by people. But members of Rajya Sabha and Vidhan Parishad are indirectly elected. They are elected by the people's representative. Now, what is the parliamentary control on the government? In countries wherever there is democratic government, the parliament has some amount of control on the government in most of the country. But in most of the countries, the parliament has good amount of control. For example, in India, the government is answerable to the parliament, and the government continues in office as long as it enjoys the confidence of the parliament. So the government cannot take any action without the approval of parliament. Now, as I have said earlier, that Lok Sabha has more powers than Rajya Sabha. So let us see what are the matters in which Lok Sabha enjoys greater power. So in case of a dispute between the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, a joint session of both houses is called. And since number of members of Lok Sabha is more than that of Rajya Sabha, so obviously the voice of Lok Sabha prevails in joint session. In case of money bill, once the money bill is passed by the Lok Sabha, the Rajya Sabha cannot reject that bill. Rajya Sabha can only withhold that bill for 14 days, and it can send back the bill with suggestions of amendments. Now it's up to the Lok Sabha to accept or reject those suggestions. Okay, so here the Lok Sabha is having more power. The no confidence motion against the government can only be brought in the Lok Sabha. It cannot be brought in Rajya Sabha. So this gives Lok Sabha an edge over the Rajya Sabha. Types of executive. There are two types of executive. One is called the political executive and another is called the permanent executive. The political executive is composed of the Prime Minister and Cabinet of Ministers. The members of political executive are not permanent in nature, because once the government goes, all the members goes out and the team changes with the change in government. The permanent executive is composed of the bureaucrats who come through All India Civil Services examination, and they are permanent in nature. Although transfers they do happen, but more or less the composition of the team, it remains the same. Prime Minister. Many of you may be under confusion that the tenure of Prime Minister is of 5 years. But the reality is that the Prime Minister does not have a fixed tenure, because the Prime Minister can continue in office only as long as he and the government enjoys the confidence of the Parliament. So it's not a fixed tenure. Appointment. The Prime Minister is appointed by the President of India, but the President of India cannot appoint anybody on his whims. Rather, he has to appoint that person as Prime Minister about whom the President thinks that he is in the best position of proving his majority in the Parliament. So once the President gives the offer of appointment to the Prime Minister, to a possible Prime Minister, the person is given for some days time to prove his majority on the floor of the House. Powers of Prime Minister are, because Prime Minister is the head of the Cabinet of Ministers, so he chairs cabinet meetings. Then he coordinates the working of different departments. He supervises the working of various ministries. In case of any dispute between two ministries or more ministries, the Prime Minister has to take note and he has to resolve the issue. In case of non-resolution, the voice of Prime Minister prevails in those matters. If the Prime Minister is not satisfied with the working of a particular minister, the Prime Minister has the right to change the department of that minister. He can remove the minister, he can change the minister. So these are all the powers of minister. Now, Council of Ministers, it has 3 categories of ministers. One is called cabinet minister, then there are ministers with independent charge and state ministers. The cabinet ministers, they hold the most important portfolio, and usually the senior most leaders from the ruling party, they get appointed as cabinet ministers. Ministers with independent charges, they get less important ministries. Then state ministers are there to assist the cabinet minister. For important decisions, cabinet meetings are called, and all the cabinet ministers, they have to attend the meeting. Ministers with independent charges, they can only attend the meeting in case they get an invitation. So whatever decisions are taken during the cabinet meeting, all the ministers have to stick to that decision. They cannot criticize a particular decision taken in the cabinet meeting. Now let us talk about cabinet secretariat. Every ministry gets a team of bureaucrats, and that team is called the secretariat. Since bureaucrats are technically more capable and they have more work experience, so they are there to assist the ministers. And on top of that, there is a cabinet secretariat to coordinate between various ministries. So the cabinet secretariat is composed of senior most bureaucrats from different parts of the country. The president is the head of a state, but the president's post is titular in nature because the president does not have real powers. President's signature holds importance. So once a bill is passed by the parliament, it needs to be signed by the president in order to become a law. Whatever decisions are taken, whatever important decisions are taken by the government of India, they are taken in the name of the President of India. International treaties, they are made in the name of the president, and president has to sign on them. President also makes important appointments like the Chief Justice of India, then the Chief Justices of various high courts, judges of lower courts. President also appoints many other important people like the Chief Election Commissioner. The President is the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, and the President also appoints the Prime Minister of India. So these are the powers of the President of India. Let us now talk about the judiciary. India has an independent judiciary, and we have a system of integrated judiciary. So this means there are various tiers of courts. At the bottom are lower courts, followed by district courts, followed by the high courts in different states, and the Supreme Court is at the top of this hierarchy. So the system is, suppose if the lower court gives a decision and the warring parties, one of them is not satisfied with the decision, then he has every right to go for appeal in a higher court. So he can go to the district court, followed by the high court, and ultimately to the Supreme Court. The decision of the Supreme Court is final and it is binding on all parties. The responsibility of Supreme Court is to resolve disputes between citizens of India, then between citizens and the government of India, between union government and state government, and between two or more states. Moreover, the main duty of the Supreme Court is to protect the fundamental rights as given by the Constitution of India. So in case the government makes a law or takes a decision which is found to be violating the fundamental right, the Supreme Court plays the role of the umpire to nullify that order or law or whatever it is. To recap, I talked about the need for institutions, then I talked about the main organs of the government, I talked about the parliament, then I talked about the executive, the prime minister and his cabinet, the president, and finally I talked about the role of judiciary. That's all for this lesson. Thank you.